Howdy, shipmates. It's Patrick again. How you doing tonight or this afternoon or this morning, whenever you're actually watching this? Ah, tonight we are going to finally get around to the Aaron Pollyea and Al Spader interview that I've been trying to set up for ages. Uh, but before we do that, let me get all the introductions and such out of the way. For those of you new here, welcome aboard. My name is Patrick Goodman. I am a freelance. Obviously, I'm not a professional public speaker, or I'd be doing better at this. I am a freelance writer in the RPG industry. Most of my work can be found these days in Star Trek adventures, but if you're into some older Shadowrun, anywhere between third and fifth edition of that game, you can find me in there a lot. Looking to expand my repertoire as opportunities present themselves. But while normally we talk about Star Trek adventures here, thus the name. I also do some side projects as far as videos are concerned, and tonight is one of them. A couple of nights ago, I finally managed to record the interview with Aaron Pollyea and Al Spader from the Yellow Hand about their game Redacted and its companion piece, Saucer Squadron. And as happens with us a lot, it's started to expand. I hope you enjoy it. While you're here, while I'm thinking about it, if you will please like and subscribe and do all the YouTube things that I always seem to ask you to do, I'd sure appreciate it. But without just a whole lot more ado, let's get into this. Here we go. Aaron, how the heck are you tonight?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well for a man on the tail end of middle age.
Fair enough.
Oh, all right. So let's just jump into this because have you been on before? I know I've had Al on before several times, and Al will be here eventually, barring technical difficulties.
I really don't know if I have. I don't think I have.
Oh, that's
I
weird.
am like not normally dressed like this. This is for Redacted.
Awesome. Anyway, we'll just go with you're new here. Introduce yourself to the 4 or 5 people who subscribe to me that don't know who you are from other podcasts.
Okay. So I'm Aaron Pollyea. I'm a long time game freelance writer. I've done things like BattleTech. That's where I kind of got my start. But I fell in with Modifius for Star Trek adventures, and Star Trek has always been my like one big passion in life. So I've been involved with Star Trek adventures from the beginning, normally doing like science, technology, things like that. You might see me in writing a lot of like the Utopia Planitia Fleet Yards book. And now I've also added to my resume Saucer Squadron and Redacted from Yellowhand.
Great. All right. So Saucer Squadron is the minis game portion, the tactical game, and
Yes.
Redacted is the role-playing side.
Yes, they're all in the same universe.
Well, let's talk about the universe a little bit because it's kind of fun. Where did the idea of starting all this come up? When did you decide, I want to write a game about a tactical game about flying saucers?
Well, the original idea sort of stemmed from two different places. It's my love of old science fiction, 1950s, 60s science fiction. You can hear me and my wife talk about that on our other podcast, Earth versus Soup. You might get that reference. I don't know. But I love those old movies, and I have truly grown up with them and, like, absorbed them, and all right, love it. And I also really liked Starfleet Battles, but that's a Star Trek kind of combat game, but I don't like that the rule book is, like, the size of a phone book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, what if I made my own universe that's like 1950s science fiction, where the rules set for at least the miniatures game can be read in less than a half hour and understood, and it can be endlessly, like, expanded upon from there." So, I wanted to make a very, I don't know, tight rule set.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's it. I really wanted to do those 2 things, and I had this really kind of fun idea one day of just daydreaming on my couch while I was reading, like, wouldn't it be really cool to have, like, this detective-like character that's in a military uniform that's also that's standing right next to a gray alien, and they're both smoking cigarettes and looking at a crashed flying saucer going, "Well, gotta deal with that." And, that's sort of the setting.
Awesome, awesome. Um, so which came first, the 1950s, the love of 1950s and 60s sci-fi, or an interest in UFOs and cryptids and things like
Ooh, boy, I would say they came at about the same time,
that?
which was very young. I've always loved science fiction. I've said in other interviews that one of my first memories is sitting on my mom's lap at a drive-in theater watching Star Trek: The Motion Picture, because I vividly remember seeing the wormhole scene
Oh yeah.
while sitting in the car and watching it. Which, okay, one of my first memories is science fiction. So I've always loved science fiction. I've always loved aliens. I've always loved UFOs and cryptids and weird things. And I don't know, since then, since I was like 3 years old, it's been watching all of these, absorbing all of it, playing with those ideas in my mind.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, I love a lot of my introduction to SF was also via Trek, but uh, I was probably 3 or 4 watching the reruns with my dad.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, when it was in syndication.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Same here. I watched all those with my parents.
and I got into I started getting interested in UFOs probably from something I read in Starlog magazine
Mm.
ages and ages hence. But even before that, sometime in the 70s, there was a TV show. I think it lasted all of 1 season, if it made it all the way through the season, called Project Blue Book,
Okay.
which was about Project Blue Book.
Mhm, mhm.
Eerily enough, and that really uh, both UFOs and special effects,
Oh, yeah.
because so many of the UFOs they uncovered were actually special effects shots. But uh, they did encounter some weirdness, but they did not encounter the kind of weirdness. I was really hoping, even at that early age, for something more like what would come along with X Files,
Mhm.
some actual weird stuff. Uh, and then I'm not as big into cryptids as my wife is, but I got a fair sampling of them watching Kolchak.
Oh, Kolchak the Night Stalker? Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good show.
I loved that show. That was so great. So the premise of the universe is Roswell really happened.
Mhm, yes.
Cool. And
Roswell happened, and there were survivors of the crash. The US was able to actually reverse engineer, the crashed saucer and build their own, from scratch, because the technology was easily enough understood once they took it all apart. It's not like the survivors of the crash helped them at all. In fact, they stayed silent for most of it. But once the US had reverse engineered it and flew it, the Reticulans or the gray aliens saw what the US had done, came down, made contact, and then realized that if the United States had this giant advantage in technology and well, just the ability to wage war, because if you can get into orbit and have craft that are able to traverse the stars at faster than light speeds, you can be pretty deadly to your enemies. So the Reticulans thought it would be a really good idea to give the Soviets the same basic technology and let them reverse engineer it, to have some sort of like parity, to have a check and balances. And then once the Soviets were able to build their own first saucer, there was a treaty that was signed called the Trilateral Treaty. Three people signing it: the Reticulans, the United States, and the Soviet Union. And it basically set down guidelines of how nations that are a part of the treaty should act. And that's, you can't use alien technology or technology derived from an alien source on any nation, including your own, of Earth or its population. You can only, I don't care what you do off Earth, but as long as it's not, you're not popping nuclear weapons on Earth with these saucers, we're okay with that. And hey, you can't try to acquire more technology from other alien sources. And if there's like a crash somewhere on Earth, you have to go and try to prevent it falling from in other people's hands on Earth. Otherwise, we're going to step in.
Okay,
Um,
hold on just a second. I think we have in the other room, as soon as I get him added into the view here, this view,
There we go.
make sure everything is looking right there. Yeah, there we go. Al, how you doing tonight?
Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me?
I
Yeah.
can.
Excellent. Yeah, just had some trouble putting the twins to bed, so sorry I'm a little bit late.
It's all good.
It happens. Like I say, I have 3 kids of my own, so Al, you've joined us. We were just talking about Redacted a little bit and the background of the world, but for the few people who come to this channel and don't know who you are, why don't you give yourself a quick introduction, and then we'll
All right.
jump in.
Well, yeah, I'm Al Spader. I'm a freelance writer and game designer. I write for Star Trek Adventures. I've done a few things for Octung Cthulhu, and I'm currently working on some stuff with Brotherwise for the Cosmere role playing game. Uh, done a bunch of stuff of my own to the Sentience role playing game and Once Upon. And when Aaron told me about this universe that he had created, I thought it would make a really great role playing game. And we decided that it would be really good narrative role playing. So we settled on using the Threshold system, which is a game system that I designed for Once Upon, and we tweaked it quite a bit to make it a little bit more action oriented for Redacted.
That is awesome. That's not something everybody would do, create their own game system, but so oh, I had a question. My ADHD just blinked off. Hold on. Why, as someone who's been doing this since like 1980, as I date myself here, why the D12? I mean, I love it because they don't get enough love. They you know, they were there. You hardly ever use them in D&D, and
So I think so. You'll see a lot of new systems have been going to the D12, and I think the D12 is just nice enough that there's variance. And with the threshold system, because we want you to focus on what you are doing and converting it to mechanics, uh, the D12 has enough room where you can adjust the threshold, which is the target needed for success, by doing cool things, building up advantages, having cool alien tech, having special effects, things like that.
Mhm.
And so when we look at the threshold system, you need 11 for a success, and a 12 counts as two successes. But that 11 can tick down
Mhm.
based on any advantages or special abilities that you have. And the other side is also true. We got rid of hit points from the game. Instead, we use problems. And so when something happens to you, or when you fail a test or something, you pick up problems, and each problem that you have with an attribute uh, ticks the number that you need for success back up. So basically, your advantages tick it down and make it easier for you to succeed across a pool. And then your problems and any hindrances that are in the way tick your target number back up. So we thought that the D12 was a really cool tool for players to like manage their advantages and such.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I don't know if I needed to remind myself that I've been doing it that long, but uh, so the game is set in the 50s
Hmm.
based on your, on your love of that era sci-fi. Will future products be going into other eras? Because I'd love to see what they're doing in 1970s with, Close Encounters and,
Hmm.
Whitley Strieber and
I can say with confidence that I have plans for future decades. There's a lot of bleed over from the 1950s, regardless of what era, because at its core, it's still going to be that kind of B movie from the 1950s, right at its core, but it's going to evolve. It evolves through the timeline.
Right. We just sent the 50 source book off for layout. So that's pretty exciting. And then our book just after that is going to be set in the 60s.
Mhm,
One of the things that Aaron and I have talked about is we want the world history to all be accurate. We just want
mhm.
there to have been some type of influence to it. We're calling it a shadow history. It's not an alternate history, because everything that has happened on planet Earth has actually happened in Redacted. We just have an alternative reason for it happening.
Mhm.
I like that. I like that. I was talking with Aaron just before we got you on, Al. Where did your interest in like UFOs and cryptids, and because I know all three of us have that in common. I was just kind of wondering where and when it came for you.
Yeah, I want to say so. I grew up in southern New Hampshire, which is very close to where the Exeter UFO chase happened.
Mhm.
And so I remember learning about that as a kid in like sixth grade, and just getting every book I could about UFOs after that. So I've always been fascinated with UFO stories. Cryptids came a lot later on when I was in college and whatnot.
Mm.
But I do think that I mean, we have the Exeter UFO Festival every summer, and I try to go every single year, just because it's such like a relevant and important piece
Yeah.
of the UFO story. So that's kind of like sixth grade is when I really remember getting into it. I always liked like weird stuff like the Bermuda Triangle and all
Mm.
that type of stuff, like fourth and fifth grade. But once I got to sixth grade, I really started checking out every UFO book I could from the library.
Mhm.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, so a 50 source book is already off to layout. Is Jay the only guy that does your layout right now, or has he started subcontracting? Because I can't imagine him being able to sleep with the amount of stuff that Yellow Hand is putting out.
We do have a new layout person that works with Jay, and this is going to be their first project,
Mhm.
the 50 source book. So we're pretty
Nice.
excited about that, to have more people working on layout, so that we don't have that funnel.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's so basically. when Jay creates a layout for a book, the backgrounds are always there for us to use in later books.
Yeah,
So
no,
now,
that only makes sense.
so we just
Mhm.
bring somebody in to basically fill in the blanks, and make it look pretty. So yeah,
But it's
w-
there's
we're
still a
excited.
lot that he does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here. Let's see, we got like 6 or 7 different game lines that
yeah.
you got
I
that
think
Yellow
we're up.
Hand is working on,
I think we're up to 7 now, 7 of
and
our own game lines, and we've got Simulacrum going off to Kickstarter
Mhm.
in 2 weeks, which should be exciting. And I believe that we're going to push for Tales of Menace and Mystery for the end of the year at a Kickstarter as well. So
that's great.
hopefully,
What I've seen so far of Menace and Mystery is, well, I haven't seen a book that Jay has made yet that wasn't really pretty.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, he does a
He's
pretty nice job.
really, really good at what he does, and
We're
I
hoping that we can get Redacted to a point where we can do a Kickstarter with both Redacted and Saucer Squadron. So we'll hopefully get there next year.
sweet, that would be great. 'Cause
Mhm.
I love, I've been through the core book for Redacted several times by this point, and I just really enjoy. And every time you read through, I keep finding little things, which is fun.
Yeah, Aaron's
Mhm.
level of detail and his level of snarkiness is just perfect. There were times, several times, where he's like, "Hey, Al, can you give me a word count and edit me a little bit?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Nope, I want you to write everything that's in your brain right now," because I think that it's really fascinating, and I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy those little details that Aaron has put in. I just came in and I put the system in where it was needed to be. Aaron made that a very easy lift for me, which was awesome.
Well, I've worked with both of you on different Star Trek projects, and that's been a lot of fun. Uh, and it's been really interesting seeing other things coming from outside.
Mhm.
Uh, so on this one, Aaron's doing most of the writing lift, and you're doing most of the editing and system stuff, Al.
Yeah, I'm calling myself the systems editor. So Aaron basically says, I need a weapon to do this, and I'll
Mhm.
go in and I'll make it work with the D12. Although Aaron has picked up the rules pretty well, and has started to take some of that onto himself as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's not a terribly complex system, which is helpful.
Mhm. Mhm.
I didn't find it terribly complex, and I'm dense sometimes. So
I do think that I edited myself pretty well for the 1950s book, I'll be fair. I could have likely gone on a lot longer for, certain historical details, but yeah, for the first decade book, I think that's where we're at is probably pretty good.
yeah.
But
Well,
Maybe one day when we take off, we'll have an unabridged edition with all of Aaron's rambling.
yeah, I'm waiting for some of the unabridged stuff from STA. Uh, but I think that's something where all three of us have probably benefited a lot. His
mhm.
is writing for Jim
Yes.
over on STA. I think that's I know it's helped me with word counts most of the time. Uh,
Yeah, so Jim Johnson and Aaron, you can speak to this as well. Don't let me just keep talking and rambling. But Jim has taught me a lot in that he's always pushing me to try different types of writing. And so like I have always sucked with character sidebars. So what does Jim do? He makes me write
Mm.
character sidebars
yeah,
so I can get better at it. So
yeah,
you know,
I know I fear at some point that's coming from me. It's like that's it's like you're great at character stats. Let's see you write characters. It's like, oh,
yeah.
I
What have
found
I done?
I
And
think I
then
found that I could do character sidebars when writing for the second edition book. I didn't know that I could, and I was like, "Oh man, I actually really like this." Um, so yeah, like when in at least in Redacted, there's like little character blurbs or quotes from characters, and that's
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed doing that. So those kinds of things will appear a lot more from
Yeah,
me at
that's the kind
least.
of, I did all those character sets for so long, and then all of a sudden he's coming on, hey, we need you to write some adventures and adventure briefs. It's
Mhm.
like there's my curve. Now I'm getting used to the doing the mission briefs and stuff, and yeah, I know the next, then he says, oh, we're gonna have you do some lore and this and this and this.
yep.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Which is what I kind of signed on for in the first place. So that, that was easy to adapt to. And my big fear at some point in the not terribly distant future is, by the way, we need you to write half a dozen character sidebars. I need to connect in some way that's not totally obvious.
Yep.
I know that's coming. I know it's coming. But I've since we're all here and we all work for the man, I've got to bring that. I think he has managed to bring out the best in all three of us.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and like he's even taken me and given me a look behind the scenes of how project like when I was working on the Klingon War tactical campaign,
yeah,
he was showing me a lot of how project management stuff worked and how Monday.com worked and whatnot. And that's been like a really big help, now that I've started working for Brotherwise in the Cosmere game, because they do things differently, but they still use Monday.com to keep track of what's going on and who's assigned what.
yeah,
So having that information from that Jim shared with me is just hugely helpful, as I try to navigate this new type of project management that is different than what Modifius uses. So,
yeah.
um,
Oh, and
yeah,
congrats on the Cosmere stuff, by the way. That was huge. I was sitting when you were first talking to me about it, going, God, I hope America's.
yeah, I can't wait till I can actually talk about it. So uh
Yeah.
fingers
Well,
crossed that'll be within the next 6 months. Um but
but
yeah, it's
congrats on
been
that, by the way.
thank
That's
you.
a huge deal because I know that is a big bright star for a lot of people.
I was not expecting it to be as intense of a job right away as it has been. So unfortunately, like like a lot of my Yellow Hand stuff has kind of like I haven't been writing any Sentience or any Once Upon. Like literally the only stuff for Yellow Hand that I've been working on is getting Aaron's redacted stuff ready to go, and then helping Jay out with the Simulacrum Kickstarter. So it's just it's awesome. It's really cool because it's a job. Like they're paying me hourly and whatnot. So
Oh,
uh,
cool.
yeah, it's just it was way more than what I was expecting, um, but I love it. So
I can't wait to see it. So, when it gets closer, let me know. We'll have you on. We'll talk about it.
absolutely.
Uh, and this is why interviews with me can be so fun. We just do these big roundabout ADHD circles.
That's okay. That's where you get some interesting discussions going though.
Uh, I have been meaning to ask you for a while. I know you do, Aaron. I know you do a lot of historical simulation. What
Mhm.
drew you to the Soviets as opposed to?
For reenacting, I
Yeah,
think it was that I would go to like air shows, other historical events, and I already knew enough about World War II and history. I've always been interested in it as well. It's just yeah, one of my things. And I would hear over the loudspeakers or whatever people talking and just giving blatantly false information. Stuff that even in like the 1980s you knew was just complete nonsense. And it finally got to the point at the big air show in
yeah,
Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I was there with my wife, and another one of these loudspeaker talks about the Cold War came up and the Soviet contribution to World War II. Before that, and we were standing near some Russian expats, and they were like shocked. They were taken aback by like the effectively 1950s propaganda that was still being touted. And I'm like, we can't do this. We can't let this stand. And we both decided to start doing Soviet World War II reenacting to actually teach what really happened.
Yeah.
And it's been a really fun journey. And we both participate in it in uniform because in the Soviet Union, women were equal to men in World War II and served right on the front lines, right alongside men. So like, yeah, it's my wife and I were both in uniform doing that. And you don't really see that very often outside of Soviet reenacting.
Do you speak the language or?
I would say I don't, but I understand more than I can speak, and I can speak a little bit. Um, I went way out of practice. When I was a teenager, I could actually speak a bit, I would say. But then I dropped out of practice for like 10 years, and now it's, you get older and languages are a little
It doesn't
harder.
stick. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't stick. I can read it because it's a phonetic language. So sometimes I can understand the words when I'm reading something slowly. Oh yeah, I know that word. Oh, I know that structure. Okay, this is what it's saying. But yeah, it takes a bit.
Is that why you ended up using Russia as one of the trilateral treaty organizations?
No, no. It was practical. It was that they're the other superpower in the 1950s. They have their own nuclear weapons, so they're kind of on par with the United States. And it would make complete sense for the Soviets to be set up as like a counterbalance to the United States.
Excellent. Yeah, I
Other
mean,
nations do come in to the
right,
trilateral treaty.
right.
Yeah.
But like, I love that, we've thought of Russia as the enemy since World War II.
Hmm.
And like now in our story, we've kind of made this understanding between, the two countries, at least on the back end,
Hmm.
that the citizens don't see. You know what I mean? I really love that.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
might have a different philosophy or a different outlook on how economics works, but in the end, they're both living on Earth, and we both are not wanting to destroy each other, and we're both not wanting to have aliens invade.
Yeah.
So
We
let's
both need Earth.
sort of
Yeah.
work together. Mhm.
And they both
Yeah.
want to, and they both want to get to space.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that works out. And I mean, and we don't hold back on that either. Our first adventure in the core rule book, I'm not going to spoil too much, but you basically are Americans that end up right away dealing with the Russians. So like, and like the Russians, give you transport, and like, it's they're not the enemy. You are working together alongside them.
Mhm.
That's good. Yeah. I've had a weird journey because I'm an Air Force brat,
Mhm.
and you know I I followed Dad into the service, but I don't know. It's taken me a long time to start realizing just how slanted things were in my house.
Mhm.
Growing up, and so I mean it's taken me a while to embrace that.
Oh, yeah. It for sure. Like, growing up, my dad would, say terrible things about the Soviets, that just weren't based in reality either. And after a while, he sort of got it finally when I was talking to him about it, like, "No, that's not really what happened. This is what happened. Here's the books, Dad. Um, here's the books, Mom." And then he would be like, "Okay, I get it. Yeah, we were both brought up in like this 1950s anti-communist propaganda, the Red Scare stuff, and it's so ingrained in you that yeah, it's tough to get over." Even my wife, who also served in the Air Force, you have this stuff drilled into you from a young age. And yeah, after you've read and like talked to people, you realize, all right, well, yeah, this isn't the way it really was in history. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'm 60 next week, and I'm still trying to let go of some of the misconceptions that I grew
Yeah.
up with. But yeah, it's always been kind of interesting. I've always wondered, how you got into the Soviet side of the reenactment stuff. But
Mhm.
that's a great story. I like that. Um, do 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 do. I
Mhm.
love my brain. I love my brain.
Did you guys talk about how the special effects work, Aaron, and
We
some of
had
No.
the
not gotten to
ends of
that.
the
We started spiraling. It's like you came
Uh,
in the middle of the spiral. So
so again, like the whole point here is like, you know, uh, the US is kind of using B movies as plausible deniability on a lot of these actual things that are happening.
Mhm.
And so we wanted to kind of capture that quite a bit in the role play. So
yeah,
Aaron came up with some pretty fun ideas for special abilities for characters to have.
Mhm.
And having run the game a few times at my local store, those abilities have ended up being everyone's favorite thing,
oh,
like,
cool.
when they came into play. So, Aaron, you wanna talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, special effects, it's things that you would expect to see in a B movie, right? Like, you can have character moments like, "Hey, this person's really good with, like, rigging dynamite." That's a special effect, but there's also, like, continuity error, where you can just move between a scene even if you were like normally like unable to be there. So if you're like, let's say, in a room and you need to be in this other room for this other scene, well, the continuity error is that the writers forgot, and yeah, you are just there, they just wrote you there. As long as you would not normally be entirely prevented from moving between those two locations. So theoretically, like, yeah, you could move between, hey, I'm driving the car and I'm outside, and then just suddenly I'm inside the room with the other characters who have been waiting for me, rather than having to like traverse whatever.
Kinda
So
like
if
our
there's,
own little version of a teleport.
yeah, like there might be enemies in the way, but it doesn't matter. Continuity error. I can get in there.
Did you
Um,
ever play? There's a game years and years ago. I don't know how long you guys have been doing this. I know you've been doing it a long time, uh, and it was always deliberately mispronounced. It's called Feng Shui, and one of the archetypes had a similar ability. As long as you could come up with some plausible reason, you were
yeah.
in the you. It's like, you know.
Um,
I had that character archetype once, and I wound up saying, "Okay, so, where are we?" And the one guy's going, "Are you there yet?" I'm about to be.
Yeah, we also have a bad editing job, so, like, you can basically, just randomly have an object appear in your hands that you didn't
yeah.
have.
Mm.
Like, because that happens all the time in B movies, fun stuff like that. And then we tried really hard to like your death ray, right? Your death
Mhm.
ray is a special effect, right? Because on the screen something would be added to the scene to make it look cool.
Mhm.
Um but I think thematically, we really kind of nailed the B movie, even with our character archetypes, right? And
Yeah.
and our villains. Oh my goodness! Like the angry hardware clerk is like one of my favorite ones.
Yeah,
Fun stuff
yeah.
like that.
Just the housewife with her the angry civilian, but
Yeah,
it's a housewife with the rolling pin, just
right,
waiting to wreck somebody.
right. All the way up to giant flying insects.
Yeah. Yeah.
Them!
Yep.
Exactly.
Well,
Hey,
those are ants, but,
them is specifically a majestic, partially funded movie to cover up an actual incident that happened, because they wanna make sure that if anybody saw what they saw, when they report it, people will just go, "No, you just saw them. What are you talking about? You're
yes.
out of your mind." Yeah.
I remember watching that movie at a time I really should not have been awake when I was when I was much younger.
I love them because the military initially comes up with an absolutely insane plan to take out the ants, and it's, "Let's just dump gasoline down the sewers and light it on fire," and everyone's like, "What?" And in, like, other, like, lower class movies than them, they would've just been like, "Yeah, let's do that." They just dump gasoline down there, but, like, they say, "No, that'll burn the whole city down. What's wrong with you? You gotta go in there with flamethrowers." I love them.
Silly, silly segue. Have you seen the movie Evolution
Yes.
with David Duchovny
Mhm.
recovering all the personality he lost as Fox Mulder?
I actually really love that movie. It's one of
It
my
is
wife and I's favorite.
I,
We'll
I had
watch that at least
so
once
much
a
fun
year.
with that movie. It's like
Mhm.
selenium.
Selenium, yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Great movie.
and when you're playing a game of Redacted, it does kind of feel like an X-Files episode,
Mhm.
in the 50s, a lot of times, and like that was a compliment that my players gave when back when we were doing playtesting, was they were like, I felt like that was an episode of X-Files, and I'm like, I take that as a
Oh yeah,
compliment in the
if you
highest
can pull that off,
regard.
that is the greatest. That's
Mhm.
we played. I don't know if any of you ever played. Either of you ever played Dark Matter
Mhm.
for Alternity back in the day.
No.
No, no.
They wound up adapting it for D20 Modern, but it's basic. The basic premise is, X Files weird crap. Um,
Well,
But
I
and
think
then not
Mhm.
quite as focused as Redacted, but they're definitely
Mhm.
going for an X Files vibe.
Mhm.
And you had Greys, you had Sasquatch,
Mhm.
you had a lot of weird shit going on.
so, like, one of the things that we've also done is to try to make each episode very cinematic. And so we created
Love that.
a mechanic, we call it a scene test. And essentially a scene test is when something cinematic is happening, and it's sort of like an extended task from Star Trek Adventures, except for it's not one particular thing that you're all working on. This is how is every single character contributing to the overall scene, and they have to get a certain number of successes, um, in order to overcome that scene. And each character's successes get added to that overall total. And like in our first two adventures, there's a scene test in each, and mm, every time I've run it, the players have said that those were their favorite parts because it felt very cinematic, very fluid, and everyone was a part of the narrative, which was spectacular.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
And I was also gonna say that when playing Redacted, it doesn't have to be campy B movie. It has every ability to be played very seriously, like a serious investigation or dark conspiracy thriller. It can be action, it can be drama. Like it can do anything within the context of like film. Let's put it that way. You could easily run like a Star Trek game in this, for example, like a Star Trek type setting.
Cool. Uh, how long have I kept you guys here? Come on, yeah. Ah, we haven't been talking as much as I thought we had. uh, so, what else? If you, I mean, what else is coming out of Yellow Hand? We talked about it a little bit with the Simulacrum fixing to go to Kickstarter. What else can you? Well, we lost Aaron for a minute.
Yeah. So Yellow Hand has a lot on the drawing board. I mean, our um Call of Cthulhu adventures and mysteries
Yeah,
have been like really big hits. So we're going to continue putting out products for that game.
cool.
Um, as far as our own internal games, I'm working on a Morkborg hack, that is about surviving against a cryptid in the wild, um, which has gone pretty well. That's still a ways off. We have a few things on the drawing board right now, including a time travel game using the Forged in the Dark rules. Um, which I think could be really, really fascinating. Uh, we actually just started putting ideas on a board for a Supers game.
No.
Yep. And a cool kind of BPRD investigative monster type game. It's a really, really cool concept.
Oh, I
Uh,
love the sound of that.
yeah, yeah. It's called Thanatos Inc. We've got like it's going to use the same system as Simulacrum and Tales of Menace and Mystery. Um, but basically, yeah, it's like it feels very BPRD to me, like where you're going out, you're stopping these monster anomalies. And yeah, it's going to be cool once that's ready to go.
That's neat. So you can't tell us about Cosmere because that's still NDA.
No, I can say that I've done research for a project, and at the same time, did a little 4-page thing for them for a project, and now I'm starting writing on a major project that will be probably 2028. Um, but yeah, that's
Oh
about
wow, that's big.
yeah, that's about as much as I
I've
can.
worked in this industry long enough to know that if it's not coming out until 28 and it's only March and 26, there's a
The
lot of work in that one.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like I said, the learning curve for me coming from Star Trek Adventures to Brotherwise has been big, because Brotherwise does it does almost like iterative writing, whereas Jim might say we have 10,000 words to fill out such and such chapter. Um, Brotherwise, your assignment is do the first X thousand words of this chapter. We'll send that off to get approved, and then while that's off getting approved, you're doing the next X thousand words for the chapter,
Ah,
and so
okay.
on and so forth. So it's kind of like an iterative process where you're not doing the entire thing at once. It's really cool, and I understand. And it Brandon Sanderson considers the Cosmere role playing game capital C canon. So everything that is in those books is canon in the Cosmere. So he actually looks at every single thing that comes through, or his people do, I should say. Um, so it's a cool process and it's pretty big. Um, so I'm
Well,
finally
the fact
starting
that
to settle in and
the fact that he
understand how it
considers
works.
everything canon is so. I mean, I can understand wanting to be really, really careful.
Yeah, so like already in my initial process of doing some research and whatnot, you find that there are things that Brandon never covered in his books, and so
Of
we get to
course.
ask, do like we know that this is here, what do we do with it, right? And so we can pitch to him, or the brotherwise can pitch to him, hey, can we do this? It's a lot like the Shackleton Expanse, right? Like,
Can we have a chunk of the universe over here
right,
to fiddle with?
to make our own little thing. So, um, yeah, and so that's been really cool to learn about. Um, and for me, it's just fun seeing the back end of another company and how they do their project work.
Awesome. Hold on
I
just a
mean, yeah, you keep going. But like, I mean, you and Aaron would both know like how different Catalyst is, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Than Modifius, right?
Right,
Like it's a
right.
completely different process.
Absolutely.
So it's just to me, it's fascinating as a person who loves games, who loves organization, to see how different companies do their project management process.
Yeah, he's back. I see him now.
I guess Majestic was trying to keep me off the air.
Oh, those no good dirty rats. Mm. So Al and I were just talking about things that are coming up for him. We talked a little bit about what was going on with him and working with Brotherwise and Cosmere. What's coming up? I mean, other than obviously the Redacted Decade books that you're working on. What is coming up? What can we tease from you, Aaron?
Well, I have some Star Trek Adventure stuff that's going to be coming out this year.
Yeah.
Can't really talk about that yet. I'll let like Jim basically
Yeah.
guide
Oh
me
yeah.
on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I can't
we
talk. I
have
can't. I can neither confirm nor deny. Well, I can confirm. I do have some words coming out sometime this year.
I have Year of the Cryptids, which is going to be coming out for Redacted. It's campaigns like a mission set campaign setting
Oh,
for it
cool.
that takes place in the 1960s. Um, it will have like some linked adventures, but also like all the adventures can be played independently of them. Plus some more like, rules, special effects, and species that you might be able to play for Redacted.
Oh, neat.
including Sasquatch.
That's right.
You can play as a Sasquatch.
Cool.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun when Aaron's like, "Let's do this." I was like, "Okay, I'm
Yep.
for it."
Let's jump right in. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're
each
currently working
each
on the missions for that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and we have a couple of different Yellow Hand members that are going to be just stepping up to write um different adventures for that. So that's going to be really cool. Um I'm excited for it. I'm excited to do the monster stats for all of them.
No, wow, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I've already written all the descriptions for him, so, mm,
Yep.
Ooh.
hopefully, yeah, all the Decade books that do come out should have, like, new species, new special effects, more options for play for that decade, that makes sense as, the timeline progresses. So, yeah, there will always be new stuff for the decades, not
Aaron,
Yeah.
just,
did you
like,
mention that
weird
the
history stuff.
decade books are also going to be for use with the role playing game and the tactical miniatures game?
I haven't really mentioned that, but yes, they're actually
Oh, that's
going to have things for both in them. And that just it makes sense since it's the same universe
yeah, yeah.
and the like saucers that are going to be in it, like the descriptions for the saucers for Saucer Squadron have a lot of like lore information in them anyway that is totally applicable to Redacted if you wish it to be. Um
Yeah, let me say this. If you are watching this video and you play Star Trek Adventures and you loved Utopia Planitia, you are going to love these decade books because Aaron has put as much care or even more care into each of his different frames and the stories that go along with them. It's
mhm.
they're going to be fantastic. You're going to love it. If you were really into what Aaron did with the Star Trek ships in Utopia Planitia, this is just that amped up to the next level.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I had to come up with my own technology for how all these saucers work. So, I have to keep all that in mind. All that
Mm.
stuff is in there too.
Yeah, what
Um,
do you just keep an extra an open document, or are you in like Scrivener like Jim is with multiple links, this, that, and the other thing with all your notes, or
no, I just kind of keep it in my head. I'm a weirdo.
Yeah.
Um, it's all rattling around in here, but it makes it so like, yeah, it's difficult to like talk about something without me like writing paragraphs down, going, well, yeah, this is how Majestic would handle this, but the 10th director, and just constant typing. But yeah, it's just sort of all in my head.
And I just do want to put a plug in for Saucer Squadron, the miniatures game, because as someone who was hot and heavy into Starfleet battles for a while, this itched every single itch that I had for Starfleet battles, but it was much simpler and didn't take nearly as long to play a game.
yeah, it's because it's like Starfleet Battles was in the very early '80s when it was a 5.5 by
Yeah.
8 book 32-page booklet in a
Mhm.
Ziploc bag. I remember
Yep.
that. I remember when Starfleet Battles was simple.
And Saucer Squadron at the very least also allows you to play campaigns with all of your stuff, keeping track of like the experience of your crew and your officers on board the saucers. And I can say with certainty that in the 1950s book there's going to be like rules for having majestic agents be able to operate as officers on saucers, and
Yeah.
you can bring in officers from saucers to operate as like agents, I should say, not just Majestic, but 10th Directorate,
Yeah.
MI13, etc. Yeah.
Slight non sequitur. The one of the things that kept me going for days, reading back and forth over and over, was that timeline at the beginning. Do those timelines carry on in the Decade books to update things that happen?
Yes. So like the 1950s book, since there's already like a 1950s brief timeline in the core book of Redacted, there isn't a reprint of that. The Decade books will have like full detailed histories of what's going on. So it's that, except 20,000 words, let's say, or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
Oh, I see. I love that. I've read that, like, oh wait, I need to cross reference this and look at this, and I went through that timeline before I did my review, which will appear up here, by the way, somewhere. At some point, there'll be a card with the. It'll probably go over Aaron's head, the way they do these things. But
Yeah, you know what? We've done several interviews now about the book, and most people say that that timeline really sinks the hook. You know what I mean? And like
it
pulls
was
them right in.
phenomenal. I'm serious. I read that thing like 3 or 4 times in a row before I went on to other parts of the book. It was just fascinating to me. I get
Yeah.
in, I get into things like that. So, anytime I can see more of that. I mean, I can understand it not being as much of something in the 50s book, which because it's already covered in the core, but
Mhm.
like the 60s and eventually the 70s. Because that's where my real interest starts. I really started getting interested in the subject of UFOs and cryptids was in the 70s. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so I'm really looking forward to those timelines in those books.
And
It's
the other thing that won't see reprint, but I think is really important for people that are checking the game out, is our inspiration little mini chapter there that
Yeah.
goes through all the different like B movies and whatnot that we reference throughout the book, and what we're trying to capture the feel of in the game.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that we're the Yellow Hand in general is now doing with all of our books, just so that people can be familiar with like the media that we're trying to mimic and bring on board, um, because some people might not know. So all of our games moving forward are going to have a similar little section like that.
Oh, good. So we'll see Kolchak the Night Stalker in one of those then.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And I always try to, like, when writing like an adventure for this, I try to include like a bibliography
Hmm.
of like, here if you want
Yeah.
to read more about this specific event or something associated with it, check this out. And there might, if it's like a long out of published book or something like that, there might be like an internet link that you can follow if you have the PDF. But yeah, I want to keep those in there, and I will plug a specific inspiration from the Redacted book for everyone out here, and that's the Bamboo Saucer. It's a film called The Bamboo Saucer, and I had written all the stuff for Redacted, the 1950s book, and then I finally saw Bamboo Saucer, and I'm like, I have to add this in here. Crap. Because it was so applicable to the entire universe. It's like, wow, this was made in what, like 1960 something. I forget. I don't have it up in front of me. But it's the US and the Soviets having to go into China still during when like the cultural revolution was going on, and recovering a crashed saucer and having to work together and get over their differences, and this is for the benefit of all mankind. And I won't ruin the movie. It's actually really, really well done. Bamboo
Cool.
Saucer, highly recommend it.
Anybody we know in it, or is it just a typical?
If you watch enough 1950s and 60s B movies like I do, yeah, there's people that are recognizable in it, but not really for the average moviegoer.
You'd have to be a fan of that particular subgenre. Okay, no, that's cool. But every now and then you find things that you had no idea someone was in.
Mhm.
I mean, I remember seeing uh, back when it was in theater. Well, everything was in theaters at the time. It was like 1984, I think. 2010, the year we make contact.
Yeah.
I had a huge crush on the Soviet commander. That was Helen Mirren.
Wow.
And I guess one of her first American film roles. She'd been in Excalibur.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't remember seeing her very often. But it's like, and she got to use her own accent. It's like,
Mhm.
but you don't realize. Oh wow, that was everybody's going gaga over the fact that it had Roy Scheider and John Lithgow in the same movie.
I mean, John
Which,
Lithgow.
yeah, man's a goat.
Mhm.
But I remember that, and you suddenly realize, wait a second,
Mhm.
because I mean, she was putting sex and sexagenarian years and years later in other movies. But I just you don't realize sometimes. Well, like Forbidden Planet,
Mhm.
how many
Leslie
people
Nielsen.
knew that was Leslie Neil?
I
Because
mean,
Leslie Nielsen wasn't Leslie Nielsen then. you know,
I
you know,
see when I saw Forbidden Planet when I was a kid, I knew Leslie Nielsen from just other weird dramas because he wasn't a comedy guy.
yeah. I mean, Airplane was his first
Yeah.
comedic role, and he smashed it.
Yeah, for sure. Darlene and I just watched a movie called Day of the Animals,
I think I've seen
and
that.
it's a bad movie, but like this is before Leslie Nielsen really got his comedy breakout, and he's playing like a villain in it, and it's kind of shocking because he's really chewing the scenery, and he fights a bear. Like
No, I
it's
haven't seen this. I think I'd remember that.
it's nuts. It's nuts. But he's playing a villain, and it's kind of difficult to watch just because you're like, no, this is Leslie Nielsen. You just want to laugh and smile. Wait a second. He's saying some pretty awful things, and then he fights a bear. Yeah.
He's yeah. I know I've seen other things where he was in serious roles, and it took some getting used to.
Mhm.
But yeah, every now and then you see something where somebody's out of context. I saw a horrible. It was a decent Nero Wolfe adaptation. The actor who played Nero Wolfe was horribly miscast, but Archie Goodwin was played by William Shatner,
Mm.
and he was a fabulous Archie Goodwin. A couple of my Nero Wolfe friends and I were watching that once. It's like, you have got to be kidding.
Wow.
But yeah, and
I've seen William Shatner in things a lot, but yeah.
oh, he for a while before the Trek movies, when he was just trying to keep body and soul together, he played in a lot of things, including an Ant movie.
A spider movie, and I'm trying to think of the spider movie's name. And
Yeah,
I
I can't
just saw
remember.
it
I
like
can't remember. Yeah, it's
I just saw it within a month. Kingdom of the Spider. King of the
oh
Spider.
yeah. Okay.
That's what it is.
So when do you guys, Aaron? This is mostly directed to you. So when do you guys sleep? Because you and your wife have put out 300 something episodes of Earth versus Soup.
This week will be 300. The 300th episode will be released
When
this
do you
week.
guys sleep?
I don't know. I just stay active is what it is. And Darlene and I have actually recorded a lot more episodes than have been released. We have like a backlog in case we have to take a break because of reenacting, which we generally do. We record a lot less, but we have let's just say we have more than 425 recorded right now, like total. Like so there's over 100 in the bank that we've done.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Al and I
So
are just
yeah, there's a
Al and I
lot
are
of that.
just staring in awe at this point.
And I mean, before this interview, we were watching another movie to record about, and we need to finish it tomorrow. But yeah, just hey, we'll watch a movie, and after a while, you get a really good repertoire of of these kinds of films under your belt, and you really start seeing the patterns and what works, what doesn't, what,
Which
what the gist of all of this is.
which helps guys like us do what we do.
Hmm. For sure.
Oh, wow. So in your copious unstructured free time, Al, what are you doing?
Yeah. But so let's not forget, I'm a 7th grade teacher.
Hmm.
I have 7-year-old twin boys.
Hmm.
So in the what little free time I have, that's when I'm writing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know that feeling. Yeah, I've got
I've got 2
three.
deadlines
I got three.
approaching, and I'm like, I'm feeling it.
Mhm.
I got three. I've got 3 kids, and like I say, I'm 60 next week, and I'm just like already kind of overwhelmed with my life. Copious unstructured free time. What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't seem to have it either, but it turns out like it seems like I do, because I mean I'm adopting a couple kids. I have all these other, like, I have my full-time job, I have writing, all this. It's just, hey, like, in my spare time, let's watch a movie and then sit down and record.
Yeah,
You know?
it looks to the outside like we're doing a lot of things to occupy our free time, and it's like we don't have free time. I mean,
No.
we I work on this channel, and I work on my writing. I've got 3 kids. Uh,
Insomnia helps. Insomnia really helps.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, I wrote an
it.
entire superhero role-playing game while I couldn't sleep one night.
Yeah. Insomnia and crippling anxiety. That'll keep you up.
It really does. It
You just
really does. If you're just joining us, and yeah, that's how writers work. We take the Venn diagram of crippling ego and crippling anxiety is writer.
Mhm, mhm.
uh,
So here's what I can say about Redacted for those of you that are watching. It is available on DriveThruRPG. You can get it in hardcover, softcover, or PDF, your preference. As is Saucer Squadron, it's up there as well. Um, we're starting to build quite a community at our Discord channel.
I will put
If
a link
you
to
want
that
to
in the comments.
join the Yellow Hand Discord. If you go to yellowhand.com, the link's right there, the invite's right there. And we're starting to actually like run games for our players on our Discord.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
that's gonna be really good. And I know that Jay is gonna be opening up a Simulacrum playroom once the Kickstarter starts rolling.
Mm.
Um, yeah, like if you go to yellowhand.com, you'll find all the information about us. The links to all of the books are there. Um, and yeah, we're excited to see where this goes because like you said, Patrick, we have 7 game lines right now. And we're gonna keep going with what we have and start adding more when we have time. So
Well, I wanted to point out a couple. One, you said something earlier on socials, and I haven't had a chance to follow up on it. The Simulacra quick start.
yep. So if you go to simulacrumrpg.com, that'll take you right to our Kickstarter launch page. We're building followers right now, so if you click follow, you will then be able to. We will then gift you a 72-page quick start, which has a full adventure. It actually has character creation in it, which you don't get a lot in Kickstarts.
Really?
Um, or sorry, in quick starts. Yeah, so like it's a really good deal just for giving us a follow. And then in 2 to 3 weeks, we haven't set a specific date yet for when the Kickstarter is going to launch. But you can click on the notify me, and as soon as we go up, you'll know. So yeah, we're pretty excited about it. It's a pretty trippy world. We're gonna start expanding on it as well. Um,
Mhm.
in fact,
Yeah.
Aaron and I have been talking some science stuff and world catastrophe stuff over the last few weeks to see
Awesome.
how can we actually expand on Simulacrum as well, because that game is really based on an out of control climate crisis, with sea level rise and whatnot. And so Aaron and I have been chatting about what other wild things could happen to the planet, um, during this time. So, uh,
Awesome.
yeah, we're excited to see where that whole kind of like mini universe goes.
Mhm.
Great.
In fact,
Uh,
in fact, I'm gonna spoil this one little tiny thing. There is an Easter egg in Simulacrum somewhere that connects it to Sentience, and if anyone can find it, they have to let us know. There's one little like Easter egg in there that we put in.
And I wonder if there's Easter eggs and other things that connect to other
I believe there
games.
will be.
Yeah.
oh, I would be sorely disappointed if there wasn't.
Yep, yep.
I would be sorely. Um, I just wanted to say to both of you, I have been doing this for a long time. I've been in this industry for 27 years. And before I let you go, I want to let you both know I am incredibly proud of you guys. Just the breadth and depth of things that you're doing in this industry, uh, and they're so damn good. And while I don't have the claim to fame that Jim has for getting you involved, but I am really proud of both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And I know like you've stuck your neck out for me several times, and I appreciate all that you've done for me. I appreciate all that you do for the Star Trek Adventures community. You're a pillar, man.
Oh,
Like
thank you.
we love you and we respect you. So we appreciate you having us on, and and when we start going in a spiral with our ADHD, that's when it gets fun. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely. I did not want to get off this without letting you guys know that because I mean, you know you just say, hey, I've got this idea for a game, and honestly, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting old or if I've got too much going on in the other room or what, but I don't have I don't really have the kind of wherewithal and focus uh, to always do more for the industry.
I
And
think
you guys, and you guys have just done a lot in a short amount of time. And you know, whether it's something you did for a World Builders program with Sentience, which I'm going to include links to that because if you guys haven't played Sentience, it's phenomenal. It is an absolute phenomenon of a game. Uh, but Redacted and Saucer Squadron, just because you said, I need something that's like this, only you don't have to have a master's degree in
mhm.
engineering to make it run. Uh,
Yeah, you can learn it right away. Yeah. Um,
and that the fact that you can both sit down and find the focus, I admire that so much.
it's
It's good,
about surrounding
it's
yourself.
good for the industry, it's good for everybody involved because something that Jim says all the time, and it's an old saying, but he says it all the time: a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
And you guys are helping the tide go up.
Yeah, we do our best,
Mm.
like you said, sometimes time escapes, and like the fact that it kills me that I have to put Sentience to the side because I've got another book plan for that. Um,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to set myself up so that once I'm ready to retire from education, I'll have this as a potential path for me to
Mhm.
keep me busy. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely.
so like that's kind of my goal in the next 5 years or so.
That's
Um,
that's kind of why I do this. At least part of why I do this video thing is to keep myself busy. Try to
Mhm.
keep things going. Try to keep the old, you know, noggin from getting soft. Uh, and maybe somebody watching it gets something good out of it, and I make I make someone's day that way. A
Mhm.
friend of mine and I were talking at one point. It's like, this is in some ways my ministry. I may not be, I'm not necessarily preaching sermons,
mhm.
Mhm.
but I am trying to look after somebody who may be having a crap day. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, that's why I, keep myself busy and do that.
Mm.
And
Well,
it
I'm
keeps my
happy.
mind off other things. So
I'm
Mhm.
happy that we were able to finally get because we those of you that are watching don't know, but we've been trying to put this together for like 3 months.
at least, at least, and there have been things get in the way. Scheduling. Uh, Most everybody who watches this know I've got some health issues going on right now, and that's been interesting. Uh, Allergic reactions to drugs that you're taking. I don't recommend this.
Yeah.
Well,
I
here's
no, they had the Aaron. They had the intubation kit on the table. They hadn't popped it open yet, but it was right
Mm.
there.
Ugh, yuck.
Within arm's length. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that. Hey, let's not do that. But fortunately, everything else they did caught it in time.
and here's the good news. You're here now,
Yeah.
able to do this.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I believe me. I wake up, say thank you to God every day. So,
yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was gonna say it takes a community. So like not one person can do these things. I might have like this idea and I want to have a game put together, but am I going to be able to be the artist to do all the art for it? Am I going to be able to be the person to lay it out? Of course not. Like I have an idea, I can world build, but it takes a community to
Mhm.
like really put together a
Oh,
product that
this industry is a group
yeah.
project.
So I wouldn't be able to do it without, everybody else, like with Al and Jay and with Star Trek Adventures with Jim and everybody
Right.
at Star Trek Adventures. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to do it without them. But yeah, Yellowhand, yeah, Al and Jay, like both of you are like, I wouldn't be able to do this without you. I'd have like 100,000 words worth of information, but it would be like this
It'd be this
wall of
massive Word
text.
document, and
Yeah, it'd be a wall of text and it would be complete nonsense that like only I would really understand. But yeah.
So Patrick, I don't know if you've heard this or not, but um, Aaron, myself, Michael, and Jim are going to be able to finally meet up all together in one place at Shore
cool.
Leave for the first time.
You're all gonna make it short. Oh, that's great.
Yep. So,
Pictures, or it didn't happen.
oh, we're it's gonna be like a
I
video
imagine you're gonna do an
diary
episode of
probably.
conversations there. So,
I know that Michael has asked if they could do one there as one of the panels, but I don't know that that has been approved yet.
okay.
Mm.
So I mean, I'm just gonna be happy to sit in a room with my team,
Oh,
my friend
I
who I've grown to love over the years,
Jim
and
and I have known each other for more than 20 years.
yep,
We were friends when we met. I've never met him in real life. Up until 5 years or so ago, I wouldn't have been able to pick him off the street.
right,
Uh, but like I say, I would love this opportunity.
yeah,
I wish I had money to travel. Yeah.
yeah. And so
Uh,
we're excited for that, and
oh,
that's
that's
coming
gonna be
up
so
in
great.
July.
That's gonna be
So
so great. I can't wait to hear the after action report.
yeah, I'm sure. And like I said I was talking to Michael Dismuke the other day. I said, seriously, man, like I know that we're gonna have so much to talk about, so much to do, and I was like, but seriously, if I even was just sitting silently in a room with all of you, I will be content. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Like just
I would very I don't do many cons because of social. anxiety issues, which, people ask, well, why are you doing YouTube? It's like, I can't see anybody.
Yeah.
I know there are hundreds of people who watch my videos. I don't see any of them. So that, that part doesn't bother me, but, get me in a room with a big crowd. We have a couple of local cons here in the Panhandle, and one of them gets up to like 8 or 9,000 members, and I am just skitzing out every time we go. Sometimes I have to go. That's how I met Doug Jones.
Yep.
Who, by the way, is one of the nicest guys
Amazing.
on earth. I don't know if either of you have ever had a chance to meet him.
Oh yeah.
But he is one of the nicest guys on earth.
I don't get to those kinds of cons very often.
Well, it's there's a timing issue and I guess a location issue. I mean, I didn't realize, how lucky I was with a couple of the cons that we do get here in the Panhandle. But I mean, Jim was talking once about going to Gen Con, going, that's 80,000 people.
Yeah, I mean, I've done Gen
My
Con
head
with
would explode.
Yeah, it can be pretty bad. The dealer's room can be very packed and very uncomfortable, but depending on where you are, like in some of the game rooms, it's fine. Yeah, there's lots of people, but they're also very, very large. So not a big deal. It's the dealer's room where it can be really anxiety inducing. Yeah.
But yeah, I will. I may try to touch base with one of you and ship something for all of you to sign. But
It's a good idea, actually.
I have books. Well, on those cons I go to, if I know there's going to be somebody, somebody there, I've got over on Yield Shelf the special edition, second edition core book, the engineering red one. And that I have decided that's my yearbook.
See, I've been doing signatures in the pods of my lower decks book.
Lower decks book. Yeah, that's a great idea.
You have way more signatures than I do, which is
well. This is all people that have played at my Star Trek Adventures tables when I'm running at a convention.
Sweet.
So yeah, but that's getting pretty full. And the back one, I'll just have to have people start writing over the actual
convicts. Yeah. Well, guys.
So, yeah.
Did I actually interrupt something, or you just?
No, I was gonna say I gotta get out of here in just a second because it sounds like I heard little footsteps up above me.
What a tremendous shock! Yeah, I've got
the pitter patter.
I've got it's almost 9 here, so it's almost 10 for you guys. Guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I have had an absolute blast.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we finally got this thing together because we've been trying to do this for months and months and months, guys. You got to understand, it's been a struggle. But thank you so much for coming on tonight. It has been an absolute delight. And with that, see you guys around.
All right, thanks, Pat.
And that, as Tony Beretta used to say, is the name of that tune. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed talking with these guys. I hope you'll go and check out the Yellow Hand and all their games, not just Redacted, but Sentience and Saucer Squadron and Once Upon, and some of the new stuff they've got coming out. Simulacrum looks to be an interesting game, probably a little dark for my taste at this point, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be good, because I've seen some of the people working on it. I'd like to thank Aaron and Al for taking the time out of their busy schedules to come and chat with me the other night. I'd like to thank you guys for showing up and watching it. If you've made it this far, I hope you'll like and subscribe. As like I said in the beginning, do all the YouTube things. All the links that we talked about in this video interview are going to be down in the description for the video. If you're looking to lend me a hand, always willing to accept tips. My tip jars are listed in the description. You can join my Patreon, like my 2 commander level patrons, Lars DeSenza and Robert Loper, who help keep the caffeine flowing. And believe me, that's a big deal for me. I really need it sometimes. Case in point. Thank you again for coming in. I always appreciate when you guys show up. In the meantime, I think we're done here for tonight. Thank you for coming by. Live long and prosper, everybody. And I will catch you in the next one.